The Spurs win 122-115 in double overtime against the Thunder in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. And Victor Wembanyama gave us a performance for the ages. 41 points, 24 rebounds, controlling the game defensively. First conference finals game for Wemby, and boy, did he show up last night.
Absolutely. And the double overtime thriller, the fact that it took just fingertips to get there by Chet Holmgren and getting there for the Thunder, and Wemby looking gassed down the stretch, and him hitting that shot, that three-pointer from basically the logo to get there. It was a great game from Wemby and the rest of the Spurs too. I mean, whether it was Stephon Castle, whether it was Dylan Harper, whether it was, and the Thunder looking that poorly at home after the amount of time, the extra time or so that they had off, looking kind of rusty. I don't want to even call it a breakout game because we know what Victor Wembanyama can do, but having this game, stealing this game at home, the talk going in, Chris, was about how much experience that this Thunder team had and how they would rely on that, and how the Spurs, while young and probably this going to be the start of a back and forth in the Western Conference Finals between these two teams moving forward, and how, yes, the Thunder were probably going to be the team moving on. I don't think anybody saw this game unfolding this way in Game 1, and how the Spurs were going to win Game 1 and steal home court advantage from the Thunder the way they did yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of layers to it, right? So, first of all, with what we saw from Wemby, you're right. It's not that it should be surprising, but every time that I think there's an expectation set, he shows up and outperforms what we were even hoping for from a player like that. Listed at 7'4", if you want to believe it. There were the reports throughout the season from Brian Windhorst that people actually think he's like 7'6", which, like during the post-game presser, he has a teammate standing next to him who's 6'6", and he comes up to like his shoulder. He looks like a little kid compared to Wemby. So, like when you kind of consider all of that and the performance and like just the way Wembanyama plays and the aggression and how he just doesn't give a blank. Mm-hmm. He wants to beat the Thunder. Clearly, from watching, it seems to me he does not like this group of players. He doesn't like the way they carry themselves, and he wants to be the one that takes them out. And I think what's cool is that even when you see Oklahoma City try and scheme against, Wemby in the post, they throw double teams. They throw a different defender. The ball gets into Wemby. He has Caruso on his back. He spins, and here comes Chet Holmgren as a defender to help on the backside. And what does Wemby do? He throws it down in his face and one, and then starts yelling in the paint. I mean, this is what is so great about watching this, is that the talent is there. It's something we've never seen before, but also the player himself wants it. And he wants to prove that he's the best player in the world, and he's trying to win a championship, and nothing will get in his way. And I feel like there is a vibe around Wembanyama that we watch. It feels a little different than what we've seen as of late in professional sports. And I don't know if it's specifically with the NBA only because of this AAU culture in the United States, but the fact that Wemby did not grow up here and is not a part of this, like, cool bro club, right? Like that's what it kind of feels like sometimes with these players who have spent all these years together in AAU, into college, and then into the NBA, that there's no animosity. Mm-hmm. There's no like, I'm trying to end your season. I get it, it's just game 1. But what we saw from Wemby last night was different than what we are used to seeing, and it felt very much like what we used to see in the NBA 25 years ago, 30 years ago, the Kobe years, the Jordan years, the Magic and Bird years, where those players did not care. And I think that's what's great, and that's a major storyline to looking back at last night was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander getting the MVP trophy on the court. and Wemby just sitting there watching. Okay, cool. You got your MVP. I am going to prove that I'm the best player in the world. Let's go do this.
Yeah, have your little night, have your little pregame ceremony, have your little night, and I'm going to show you what's what. And what's interesting is every player on the Thunder, except for Alex Caruso, essentially had a subpar night. Chet Holmgren had a bad night, except for the block at the end, which kind of saved them and sent it to overtime. You know, like it wouldn't have, that shot was going in, except for the fingertips of a Chet Holmgren.
Yeah.
But Alex Caruso had a great game, had a great game.
Sure he did.
Other than that, SGA, your MVP, your two-time MVP, back-to-back, had a bad night. Holmgren, like I mentioned, had a bad night. The rest of that team, it's something that you didn't think would translate from what we saw in the regular season where the Spurs dominated that matchup, where we saw them beat the Thunder multiple times in the regular season, and you didn't think it would translate to the postseason, and it did. And yeah, it went to double overtime. And look, but it didn't. You didn't think it was going to. Watching the game unfold, I was watching it, and the Spurs were leading at halftime, and I was like, okay, at a certain point, it's going to be, quote, Thunder time, Like, at a certain point, like, you were, like, remember, like, watching other points in the playoffs, the Thunder were losing, and you're just like, okay, at a certain point, like, the Thunder are just going to turn it on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you're like, okay, well, it's the fourth quarter now. They haven't really done anything. And then towards the end of the third quarter, they take the lead, and you're like, well, this is over. And then the Spurs battle back, and then it's a 3-point game, and then you go to overtime, and then you're like, okay, Wembanyama looks exhausted. Just looks absolutely gassed. They get to overtime, and I thought the Thunder were just going to roll away. They go on a 7-0 run, thought that they were just going to go, run away with it. The Spurs battle back. Everybody's playing well. It's for second overtime. Then, obviously, they end up winning the game, and it just shows that Wembanyama, the effort that he's exerting on both sides of the floor, Defensive Player of the Year, all the rebounds, everything that he's doing, exerting maximum effort. He just cares so much on both sides. And you could see it at certain points in the game. He's got his hands on his knees, just standing at the three-point line while the offense is operating around him, and he's just sitting there just waiting, and he's like, okay, time to go, with like 10 seconds left on the shot clock, just conserving his energy because he knows, I got to get back on defense at a certain point. I have to be a part of the offense with like 10 seconds left on the shot clock. But then I also, if this doesn't go well, I got to get back on defense because I'm such a big part of this too.
Okay, so we've been hanging out here before the show talking about Wemby. I mean, that's what we were doing. We were talking with Raj, talking about Wemby, right?
Everybody's talking about Wemby.
Now, last night, Wemby played 49 minutes. Mm-hmm. It's the first time on the air, but you also mentioned it off the air before. You seem to be very concerned over the minutes played by Wembanyama last night.
It's not the minutes.
It was a double overtime game in the conference finals.
It has nothing to do with the minutes that he's played. It has nothing to do with the amount of minutes.
But you seem very concerned over it.
No. It's not the double. It's not the minutes that I don't care about the minutes he's playing. It's the playoffs. It's the Western Conference Finals. You're playing all the minutes. He should be playing the entire game. Like, whatever. I don't care about that. My point is, and what I said to you and Raj before the show started, is that, and it's not me, I'm not the only one pointing it out. Go online. Everybody's pointing it out. The dude looked exhausted.
Yeah,
and the fact is, and we talked about it the entire regular season leading into the postseason, and it might have been the reason why he didn't get as many MVP votes as Jokic and as SGA did, is because his lack of use during the regular season, so that because they were saving him for the postseason.
See, I think the Spurs handled it the right way. I mean, he played 29 minutes a night throughout the season. You're right. When you look at the MVP voting, perhaps that's why he finished third in the MVP voting, even though he's the best player in the world. Something that we said here on this show months ago.
Yes.
Remember that show like 2 months ago where I was like, I don't care what anyone says. The best player in the league right now is Wembanyama. And he will show it at some point. Like, here's what I don't get about the concern over it. They did it the right way, as in the Spurs conserving the minutes, because he got to this point healthy, and this is all that matters.
It has nothing to do with
exuding
health.
More minutes throughout the regular season doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to get to last night, game 1 of the conference finals, where you can play 49 minutes.
It has nothing to do with health. It's not about his health. I'm not saying that because they didn't play him, he's going to pull a hamstring, or rupture an Achilles, or anything like that. That has nothing to do with it. It's his conditioning. It's that he's not used to playing this many minutes. Is that if this series goes 7 games and you're playing every other night, he's not used to that. He's not used to playing 42 minutes a night. They didn't play him during the regular season. He's not used to that. You saw it last night.
Weird. Well, why are you so concerned over that?
I'm not
concerned. He was fine last night. He was the best player on the floor last night.
Dude, the way
everyone's going to look tired at the end of a double overtime game.
Everybody's going nuts over that shot that he hit, the 3-point shot from the logo. That looked like a get me over 3. That looked like a shot that was like, I don't feel like running anymore. I'm shooting this. And the way he was jogging back to the bench just looked like, I can't believe that went in either. I need a break.
You are way too concerned with this. Honestly.
I'm just telling you.
What do you want? In game 2, you want them to play him to 30?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that next season, when we get to next season, they need to think about the way that they use him more and maybe start to stretch him out a little bit more.
Okay, but don't you think the Lakers would have preferred to play Luka less in the regular season, so then they would have him for their postseason?
That's an injury. There's a difference between usage and injury.
Wait, but a part of the way the Spurs handled Wemby throughout the season was to not push him when he was dealing with little injuries throughout the season and to limit the minutes so they could get to this point. This is exactly why they did what they did.
We're talking about two different things. I'm talking about a. You're talking about a guy.
You're saying he needs to play more in the regular season.
Yes.
That's exactly what you're saying.
Play more in the regular season.
I'm saying the Spurs handled it perfectly because we're now at this point.
So you're not exhausted at the end of a regular. He was tired before they got to overtime.
But it doesn't matter. They got here. That's the point. He can do it now.
I understand that. My point is that sure, great for game 1. Tomorrow night for game 2, when he's got his hands on his knees halfway through the game. This is how it's going.
You are way too worried about this.
Okay.
I would be more concerned over Chet Holmgren looking gassed while getting his ass kicked.
That's fine,
That, to me, would be a bigger concern.
You can be concerned about that, too. This, to me, looks like a pitcher who hasn't been stretched, that they conserved him, and they're just like, well, that's it. He's pitched all he can pitch, and that's it. That's all he's got.
But your example is flawed because that pitcher would then go out and throw 9 innings of hitless ball. That's the thing that I think you're missing. He was by far the best player on the court last night.
But he also has to play.
He's been the best player in the playoffs
He has to play tomorrow night, and then in 2 nights after that.
Yes.
And then in 2 nights after that.
The
and then in 2 nights after that.
I get it. You're just going to keep going with this, but
yes.
The point is, in the playoffs, you get rest. There are no back-to-backs. There are no 3 and 4 nights. You get rest in the NBA playoffs. That's where it's different. That's why you can handle it.
Okay, I understand that. I'm telling you that the Spurs for next season should consider playing him more minutes during the regular season so he can have more energy so he doesn't look dog-ass tired at the end of a regular.
It was double overtime.
No, dude, he looked tired at the end of regulation yesterday. He had his hands on his knees at the end of regulation yesterday. He was walking down the court at the end of regulation. It was before overtime.
You can call and text the show at 310-840-4910. I don't quite understand your concern about him looking tired. He was by far the best player on the court.
I'm not saying that he wasn't.
Tired.
I'm not saying that he wasn't.
You know, a part of the story with Wembanyama to this point is the MVP that was handed out to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander before the game. And obviously, it's something that Wemby is thinking about and motivated by. Here's after the game. Here's Wembanyama when he was asked by the media, was it personal not getting the MVP?
Pretty natural response for a competitor to see another competitor get something that he wants, whether it's the MVP trophy or whatever it might be. I'm just curious if that was in your mind at all, knowing that Shai had got that award and you were in the top 3 for it. And, did any part of tonight feel personal? Some of your facial expressions kind of look like you were really, really going for it.
Yeah, for sure. Everything you just said.
Wemby also went on when he was asked about watching Shai Gilgeous-Alexander get the trophy at the start of the night.
What does it feel like to see someone else get the MVP trophy right before you step into, I guess, what is basically the biggest game of your career, and then to have the best performance of your career?
Feels like I still got a lot to learn, and I want to get that trophy, many times in my career.
There you go. Victor Wembanyama. He is not afraid of letting you know that he wants it, and he does not like the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Maybe if he played more minutes during the regular season, he'd be out there getting that trophy.
Yeah, I disagree. I mean, you can keep saying it, but I don't think people are on your side.
I think that we clearly talked about it yesterday, that the reason that he didn't get more votes is because they're considering that he didn't play enough minutes during the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing that's why people voted that way. But it doesn't I understand if we're looking at the voting, that's on the reporters and the media people who are voting on the award. It's your failure to not see that he's the best player in the league.
Yeah, he absolutely is the best player in the league.
For them to not consider that in 29 minutes he was doing what he was doing per game and not realize that did I not on this show, did I not say, let's see what happens when he bumps those minutes to 40 and what he can accomplish in the playoffs? Mm-hmm. It was very obvious what was going to happen.
There's going to be a point, and it might come next season, when he wins both MVP and Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's
totally
going to
agree
happen.
with you. I mean, it does ask the question, as everyone in the sports world is marveling over what we saw last night from Wembanyama, the 41 points, 24 rebounds. Who was the last athlete that you were just absolutely wowed by? Think about just any sport, any athlete, someone that there were expectations when they showed up, they exceeded the expectations, and it was just an absolute wow moment player that you've seen. You can call or text the show, 310-840-4910. To me, the last one I can think of is Shohei Ohtani. I mean, Shohei Ohtani was billed as this pitcher and hitter, and he showed up to Major League Baseball, and he did both, and he does it well, and he's at the top of the game in both. Something I've never seen before. He's the best baseball player I've ever seen. It's true. And I think he's the best baseball player anyone's ever seen. Shohei is the name that comes to mind when I think of someone that's completely wowed me in sports. Mm-hmm. The next name I would say is probably Early Mahomes. Early Mahomes, that first year with Kansas City, that was completely wow. To see what they were doing, all of the points that were being scored, the blowout wins that the Chiefs had in that first go-around, and the way that offense just clicked, that was wow.
Yeah.
When we think about those players, those athletes where it was an absolute wow moment, because a little of the chatter with Mahomes was that we heard this stuff from Kansas City that in practice he was doing stuff that was crazy. And it's just wait until this guy takes over.
Yeah.
And he took over and he was immediately the best quarterback in football.
Yeah. It sucks that it didn't translate to the NBA, but you saw it in high school. And then when he got to college, it was Zion in college.
Yeah.
You saw the highlights from high school and you were like, just wait till this guy gets to college and he's on TV every single night when he's playing, because we saw some of his high school games were on TV the way, when LeBron started playing his high school games, and that was the first time you're like, okay, this guy's, they're putting high school games on TV. And then obviously he never actually made it to anything because of injuries and stuff in the NBA, but it was Zion in college. I'm trying to think of anybody else. You're right. It's probably Shohei in baseball. It's Mahomes in football. I'm trying to think of anybody else in the NBA.
There's shades of it in 2015, 16 with Stephen Curry. Some of the stuff that Steph was doing where the three-point shots from half court and just the unbelievable avalanche of offense that would kick in for the Warriors. They had that streak during that run where there was something where they won 70-plus games in a row after the fact that they would get up by 15 points in a game. Mm-hmm. And it was something where it was just automatic. They would get to 15 points up on an opponent and the game would just be over. And there's just no chance for a team coming back. And that was semi this, but the thing with Shohei and with Wembanyama is I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
You know, he's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with handles and a pull-up J like he's a guard.
Yeah.
Like that's what's crazy about it. It is you're putting all that together. So you can call or join the show through text at 310-840-4910. That's the question today. Who's the last athlete that you were just wowed by? You can text the show at 310-840-4910. We'll continue talking about that as we go on here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app.